Okay, so what we're going to be learning about today is proper shading techniques. Now, for those of you that are at home and haven't been in the building, this is to assist you on how to catch up to the rest of the class and pick up steps that you may have missed on projects that you need to do. Okay, so proper shading techniques. The first thing we need to do is we need to divide our paper. So you're going to need a straight edge of some type. You don't have to use a ruler. If all you have is a cardboard box, that's fine. I've even made rulers out of Legos, whatever you have available to you. But you just need something straight. You could even use a folder or even the cover of your notebook, just something straight. So if all you have is printer paper, that's fine. I really don't want you to use lined paper because that's just going to mess up your drawing. So the first thing we want to do is we want to divide our paper into 3 equal spaces. Now if yours is a little off, that's fine. So if you have an 8.5 inch by 11 inch sheet of printer paper, you're just going to have to divide that, you know, you can do the math. I'm sure you can figure it out. But if you have a piece of art paper at home, they're normally like 9 by 12. So I'm just going to divide my paper into 3 areas. So I'm going to mark off the 4. I'm going to mark off my 8. I'm going to mark off my 4. Mark off my 8. I'm going to draw these lines straight down like this to divide up my paper. Okay, so now I have 3 equal rectangles. Now I need to break these 2 rectangles down into smaller spaces, and my paper's 9 inches tall, so half of that would be 4.5. If you have 8.5 inch sheet of paper, so it would be 11 inches wide by 8.5 tall, that would be 4.25. Okay, mark off my 4.5, and then connect these lines like that. All right, so now we have 4 rectangles, and we have the area where we're going to be doing our grayscale. Now I have one here, an example that I started working on with the students in class. I'll make a separate video on how to shade these objects later, but at least you'll have this part to get you started. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw this grayscale in this area here. Now if the spaces aren't exactly the same size, that's fine. I'm not worried about that because this is just shading techniques that I'm looking for. So I'm going to make a rectangle in this box here. Oops, sorry about that. Then I'm going to draw a line here because I need a place to put my numbers. And then I'm going to divide this rectangle into 9 areas. And the way you do that is this. You're going to draw 9 lines. Okay, so again, if these spaces aren't exactly equal, that's fine. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines. Okay, and I have a really big space down here, so I'm just gonna erase that. All right, so you want to have 10 squares total to shade in, and we're gonna number these 0 to 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, so in this first rectangle here, I want you to draw a circle, and I want you to draw as close to the left hand side of the rectangle as possible. So we're going to start out with the circle like that. Draw your cast shadow. Every solid object casts a shadow, yourself included, when the light hits it. So our light is coming from this direction. Okay, so you can kind of see my circle and my cast shadow in my first box. The next thing I want to do is my cube. You can use a ruler for this. I'm just kind of sketching it out. And basically all this cube is You want to draw the front of your shape first. Always draw the front of your shape. And then we're going to make it look like a table that fell over on its side. And we're going to draw the legs. And the legs need to all go at the same angle. Okay? Voila. It looks like a table that fell on its side. Now, one of your legs might be a little longer than the other. So you don't want to draw your line going in an angle like that. You want your lines to be parallel, which means they're never going to intersect. So the way to get that effect is to put your ruler or your straight edge on top so that you can see the space that you have here and make sure that it's the same space all the way across. And you're going to connect your lines. Same thing here. You make sure you line it up with the line you just created, and then you're going to make sure that this space is parallel. Okay, that these two lines are going to be parallel and that they're never going to touch. Okay, so there's that shape. And I'm just going to draw my cast shadow going off the paper like that. Now for my pyramid, all right, we're just going to draw an arrow pointing upward like this. Now you only want the center line slightly longer than the sides, because if you draw it too long, it's going to look like a diamond or like a kite shape, and you don't want that. And then we're just going to connect the bottom like that. Now we're going to draw our line straight across the paper. Okay, so your cast shadow line should be parallel with the bottom of your paper. So these two lines should run the same way. And then you're going to take this corner and connect it like that. Now in this last space, you can draw whatever shape you want. It's free choice. You can draw a cylinder if you'd like. You could draw a letter if you'd like. Whatever you want to draw in that last space is fine with me. You do not have to draw a cast shadow for your final shape. So as I've been explaining in class, the thing you want to do is you want to do exactly what you did with a cube. Okay, so you want to take and you want to draw the front of the letter first. T's are easy to do because they're nice and square. Doing square letters is much easier than doing rounded letters. Okay, now I have the front of my shape. Now I'm going to do the same thing I did with the cube, and I'm going to draw my legs. So I'm going to angle it. Here's a leg, a leg, a leg, and a leg. Now I'm going to connect them like this. All right, so there is my free choice shape, and it does not have to have a cast shadow at all. You don't need to do that. Now for the grayscale, that's the only other part we're working on right now. You want to start out at 9. It's going to be your darkest color, and 0, the reason why it's 0 is because it gets 0 shading. There's no shading on this part. So to get it really, really dark, you have to go in different directions. So notice I'm going diagonally. All right. I'm getting it as dark as possible. Now I'm going to go vertically, up and down, and then I'm going to go horizontal to get that nice and dark. That way I can gradually get lighter, and that gives me plenty of space to make different shades, because usually around 4, 5, and 6 they start to look the same, and you want to make sure that they're different shades. Now when you finally get up to the 1, you only want to put like hardly any lead down on the paper at all, like really, really light, and then I smear it like that. You just want it slightly darker than the 0. That's it. Okay, now it's going to take you a little bit to get it. You might have to tweak your grayscale here and there, but I'm going to do my next shade just a slightly lighter shade than my 9, and I'm going to keep doing that as I go up the grayscale. Okay, so this should be slightly lighter, and you're, like I said, you might have to work on it here and there. That 8 is much too light, so I want to fill in all my white spaces on there and get that colored in kind of solid, but not as dark as the 9. So I'm only going to go in 2 directions for that. All right, so when you're finished, it should in fact look like this. Okay, so you can see the different shades. It goes from white to just a little bit of shade, and it gradually gets darker, but you can see the differences between the values. So that's what we're doing. We're doing a value scale, even though it's called a grayscale, because eventually we are going to be doing a couple of still life drawings where we're shading properly. And we're also going to do a monochromatic painting, which is the value, the light and dark of color. Okay? And that's all for today.